So this is part 3. We see that same structure in this picture there that looked like a dome, translucent object rising up. And you had the dome shape right there. This is a very peculiar object. It seems to be coming up. There's a square area and there's a tube that leads from there to this grey area down there. This has been caught clearly in quite a few photographs. So the white object seems to rise. There's a few openings on the side and there's a tube that connects it to that grey object down there. Another zoom there. Shows that purple object coming up. Grey shows those areas there, openings. That grey object there. Again. Enhanced. Again, not sure what it is. It's just unusual that should be joined right through there to that object. These are unusual because they're coming up from the ground. They look to be perfectly rounded on top, very smooth, and they've got these side openings. That's rising vertically up. It's spectacular. You've got very shiny tops to them. One more example. This looks like two objects and a rounded red object on top. This object seems to rise up and it's got a few of these processes coming off it. Interesting, that one. And I've caught that again, that same object, but this time the processes were curved more in a flat shape. This one is particularly interesting because it actually looks like it's a huge rock structure, and you've got like very straight lines coming down of these openings or pillars. And again, you've got the openings on the side up there. And I'll just show the pillars. It's just, they're perfectly up and down. You've got these openings on the side. It's very peculiar for a rock formation, especially down there. So I'll just try to zoom in as much as I can. You'll see the straight walls, what look like pillars coming down and entrances like caves that we see on Earth. Again, unusual entrance right there on the side. They're always on the side. Straight running up like pillars, arches. Must be huge, a few kilometers high. Here we've got one as well, up there, and that opening on the side. That was right up there. That last one was accidentally from the comet that I zoomed, but obviously they're not my pictures and I don't want to trust anyone else's pictures except mine. Here we have that object that has that thing pointing to the side of it. That's very unusual. There it is there. It's a very bright, shiny surface. Some of these pictures are getting rough, and then all of a sudden this one pops up that I've seen this structure repeated. This could have been the object which had all the various colors on it, which I said was about 100 kilometers tall. it's got that same surface on it. There's that sharper shape there that goes sideways. Beautiful shapes again. Again, that honeycomb type of shiny surface. Those side openings that we've seen in quite a few other of these strange structures. That ring going around a dome shape there. Here we've got this magnificent structure, and this is that structure that I think I saw with the various colours on top, which we saw a few frames down as being very dark grey. See how these things open up like arches on the side? Right there, look at that. Like a honeycomb type of pattern. Magnificent. There's that honeycomb pattern again, with like arches and supports on the side. It's a huge dome right there. I wish I had clearer pictures, but obviously that's the best I can do. Again, here we go. Now we've got something. On this picture, we start to see that perfect round sphere sitting there. We see these. It actually looks as though it's at an angle, and it's got these pillars that go down, curve to the top, go down, curve to the top, go down, and then you've got that big ridge right there. But that looks perfectly round sphere sitting there. Right there, you've got that sphere, those openings, the pillars there. It just doesn't seem like a structure. And this is important. That opening there has that tube coming out of it. And I've seen this happen before. Obviously, that's that area right there we're looking at. Look at that. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That huge sphere sitting there. I've seen this sphere captured on other amateur telescope. Now, this is where we start to see a bit of that sphere and those two pillars there on the sphere. This picture's a bit better. You see that sphere shape, then the opening down the bottom on the side, that structure there, and those arches right there. I can't get any clearer on that. See how these look like squares? They've got the openings on the side again. It's like a insect type nest. That honeycomb effect right there. You've got the openings on the side. I think we've caught that structure again that has these openings on the side. It's a very big square shape there. That was that object in the first series, which I saw. It's about 100 kilometers high, and it seems these areas had all peculiar colors on top. It's like a huge nest, a wasp nest or something like that. It's very bizarre. Here it is again. Again, we've got those same shapes again. Here's a perfect picture of that area again. We've got what looks like straight up and down supports. We've got that object there, the side openings on the side. The side openings there. The square openings there and like windows. It looks like a huge rock city. Look at that. I don't know how that could be natural, or it could be natural. But you see the side openings there, especially these areas here, and the straight up and down pillars on that area. Here we've got something unusual. We've got those straight processes coming down there. But it's too rough to see what it is. Looks like a huge wasp nest again. Those openings on the side and the large ones in the center. That's the corrugator shapes. Some are just too rough, so I have to skip by them very quickly. This is an interesting shape. I think that was a side view of that rounded honeycomb wasp nest type structure, the rounded sphere on top, and that peculiar look. They're all wasp nest-like type of honeycomb structures. There's that pink object on top of that object that looks like a honeycomb, and you'll see that sits right on top. There it is again. It's right on there. When the moon's not full, they become more orange, more brown. They're harder to process. That object seems to be floating again that we saw last time. That honeycomb shape. Here we again see the like honeycomb shapes on the sides. It's more red of a colour there in the shadow area. There was that rounded object, I think, again, that object in the centre. Not that clear, I can't do anything with these pictures. Some are crystal clear, some are not. Discrete openings on the side. Those openings on the side. Very shiny surfaces. Greyish, very shiny. The towers again we saw last time. This is unusual because we see that right angle right there. So it looks like many tubes sort of up and down that object. Again, that's as clear as I can get. Some are perfectly clear and some I can't do anything with. This looks like an opening. There's actually something in the opening. See how it's got the straight things coming down from it. So it's right there on that area there. It looks as though something's opened and something's coming out of it. So it's on that spot right there. I'm using contrast there. Here's that shape we saw before. It's like a cross shape, tower, and there's a thing on it. Again, we see these side openings. It's very common. Mostly like wasp nests. So you've got some straight lines happening there. Nothing much to look at. Here's that shape that was rounded on top and it had the square processes coming off it right there. It's very interesting on that one. I'm not sure what to make out of it. There's a filter applied to it. There's that pink object there. This is unusual because we've got an object that is coming right out of there. Seems to be opened. Again, they're not clear enough, but they're very interesting. So the structures we've seen before repeat when the terminator line goes around again. It's caught at the various angles, various times of the night. There's that rounded object, which had the pink sphere on top. It's interesting because it's got red, green, and that a dome right there. Again, not clear enough. There it is again, red, green, and the dome. So again, these colors are repeating. Green, red, and the dome. That's interesting. You've got a square shape, a pillar there, triangular shapes there, and that squarish type object. These are large. These are probably 50 kilometers high. So you've got a few of these square shapes coming in right there, and right angles and pillars. That's why that sort of stands out. There is again. See? Square, right angles. Right angles there as well. Could be natural, but anything that is obvious like that should be looked at. We've got too many right angles happening there and pillars to be natural. Again, it might be, but on Earth you won't see anything like that probably. See the shapes right there. It's unusual. You've got a very pinky type object, very shiny, and what looks like supports on the side and a right angle there. Seems to be a very bright blue spot right there. And again, there's straight edges right there like cliff faces. These are very rough. This is unusual because there's quite a few raised areas and they drop very quickly.